What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of my HLTV Fantasy. Today we will be looking at the Blast TV Austin Major 2025 Europe Qualifier, whatever it's called. Um, as you can see, my result, this is actually before the finals, but either way, my result in the playoffs of, I can't stop laughing at this, honestly, of PGL, whatever it's called, went very, very badly. Every single one of my players eliminated after the first game. Best players on Taurus at 0 points. You know, you can only laugh at stuff like this, honestly. You can't even take it too seriously at this stage. No points, of course. And yeah, for the rest of the season, just gonna take it more lightly. Look at lineups that I just want to pick and don't want to try hard too much. But yeah, let's get past this event at this stage. I'll also show you actually, because there's 3 of these partner games. I usually don't make videos on them or even comment on them because I just make a lineup real quick and that's it. These are just the lineups that I happen to make for the last 3 that are going to be starting. So these are like America's major qualifier. Yeah, 2 teams from one of the groups. I think Legacy looked pretty good at the last event they played, so maybe they can continue here. For the Americas, pretty easy to go with Complexity right now based on their performance at this last event. And then Wildcard seems like a pretty decently priced, decent team in the other side of the bracket or in the other group. And then I just went with Rush because he fit the budget, and I mean, look at those arms and that mustache. Can't not pick them. And then there's this Yala Compass event as well. Not really sure what to pick here. I just went all in on Bet Boom with some of the most, or actually the 2 most expensive players from them. And then Gun 5 in the other group might do pretty okay, actually. And the Selter and Lucky were very cheap, so I just figured why not. Maybe they can do well in that stage as well. But enough about that. Let's go into the European major regional qualifier. This is going to be a very interesting event to me. A lot of pretty tight matchups. And a lot of teams that are somewhat evenly matched in my eyes. I would say, I guess Astralis is still favored to make it through, even though I don't think they're very strong and I don't really like this team. And I am definitely not going for them. I think the difference between them and other teams is definitely, even if they are a bit stronger than them, I would still say that the difference between Astralis and some of these other teams is too small to go for them at these prices. Gamer Legion, on the other hand, like, have been super impressive. I think they are gonna do well here. And even though they're slightly expensive, just because like they're the 2nd highest ranked team at the event, I still think they might offer some good value here. I would probably not go towards Saw, even though we've seen some pretty good stuff from them. I thought they would kind of fall off a cliff after Arodos and whoever the 2nd guy was got benched. But they looked at least okay in some of the events. I just personally don't have quite enough faith in them. I think Heroic is one of the teams I could be going for. I just have faith in Saw, their coach. I think any team coached by him should be pretty favored to make it through this stage of the major process. And also they're just a group of good players, and they're priced pretty decently. So makes sense to me to go towards Heroic if you want to go for that. Big is decent. Not much else to say. They haven't played too much, at least at decently high tier events. I just personally don't want to go for them. They're a bit of an unknown to me. Even if they make it through, I don't know if I can pick the players that would do well. So yeah, I just personally probably am gonna avoid them. Maybe QB as a cheap option could be decent, but even he, like, I don't know. I'm not that high on Big right now. Bet Boom, I just don't know. I think they have a decent shot of making it through this stage, definitely, but pretty expensive for what I expect of them, I think, is the problem, honestly. Like, Zorti at 206 is the one that catches my eye as, like, a potentially good pick. Apart from that, I'm not that excited. Nemiga, like, then there's, like, a really large group of teams. Like, basically every other team, maybe apart from Metisport and maybe apart from ENS, I would say, are in, like, the conversation of, like, who even is the next best team. There's I don't know. These teams are just so evenly matched, and every matchup is pretty much 50-50 in my eyes. That's just the landscape of Pro CS right now. I think there's a lot of teams that are just pretty strong and can definitely put up a fight. And on their day, probably can just 3-0 this whole thing, this whole stage. But I don't know who the team is that is gonna do that. Even ENS is probably in that conversation, to be honest. Like, they've seen good things from them before. They've won a LAN event in Finland that I was watching live. I remember that. And then yeah, I think I put someone like Metisport slightly below the general level here. So it's just about finding some singular players that are kind of worth it. I think Glaive is like an option here. I think he's the kind of player who could put up better stats than his price would present us, just because he wants to make it to a major. I'm sure that this is like the most important event for him personally, not just for ENS as an organization or these players, but especially for Glaive. He probably wants to get back to a major, so I could see that impacting his play quite positively. So in that sense, I think based on what I've said, the player that I kind of want to go with is probably Glaive as a budget enabler. He's the cheapest player on in the whole event, and I think he's there's a chance that he does pretty well for that price at least. Blamaf is someone who you could go for, by the way, if you want to go for someone like more expensive. Like a Glaive Blamaf combination is like exactly 400k, so pretty much goes even in terms of budget. But personally, I'm gonna stay away from Fnatic for this event, even though I think they definitely have a good shot of making it through as well. So Gamer Legion is the one team I really want to pick, so I'm gonna go double up on them. And then I think it's gonna be Heroic based on these prices and the fact that we have like Sunpayus for 204k. I think honestly everyone here is decently priced. Ineer I would probably go for if it wasn't for the fact that I don't think I'll have the budget if I go for double Gamer Legion as well. So I think the number one draft I made was like PR Slend, Sunpayus, LNZ, and then Glaive. Or actually, probably not LNZ, but instead Youngster, yeah. So this is the lineup that I first made. And if I don't find something here that I like more, then this is just what I'm going to go with. The thing is, like, PR has been super impressive based on just the eye test. I also really like how Rez is playing. Slend is like, they've been playing pretty high tier events lately, and the eye test hasn't been that good for these high tier events when it comes to Slend, even if he put up pretty good stats here. But he's usually especially good at beating these lower tier teams. Like, he's definitely a tier above this. Like, I would say he definitely does well against this tier of opposition that they're expected to play against. So yeah, I think Slend is a decent pick. I wouldn't want to go Torsten for 200k and definitely not ZTR for 193. I think these are pretty expensive prices for players who I still don't expect high stats from. Whereas like Res, PR, Slend, personally, I like all three of them for this event. And then when it comes to Heroic, like Sunpayus for 204k just seems very good, very okay price to pay for a player that has a lot of experience at like higher stages or higher levels of play. And then like Youngster for I've seen him play and he can be very sharp, and 193k is just pretty damn good price. And we avoid having the IGL of Heroic in LNZ, who's just not even expected to frag as much. And then I think Glaive is just I mean, I'm not happy going for Glaive, but I think he is a decent budget enabler for this event. It's a risk, of course, you know, but we can at least chicken him out against a higher tier opponent if they face someone that we'd want to do that against. Like their first opponent is 500, and there we can definitely play him of the other first opponents. So gamer, because of how even these groups are or how even these teams are, I don't think the first matches or even the seeding matters that much. I just think that whoever is on their game on the day is gonna do the best. And even even though there's no major simulator here, I'm pretty happy just making my team, knowing the opening matchups. So Gamer Legion against Namiga, I think Gamer Legion should beat Namiga. And then Heroic versus Parivision is pretty close. But I still would favor Heroic personally, just because I have a lot of. I guess I'm just. My new strategy is going for good coaches in Ash and Saw. Ash and Saw, good coaches, so go for players from their teams. I'm trying to think, like, if I wanted to do something else, I think Res PR, like, I can save 2k going for Res instead of PR. Does that allow me to do anything interesting here? Like, I don't think it does. I can't go for Tenier, definitely. Sunpayu still seems like the best budget option, like Xcloud, already too expensive. I don't really want to go LNZ. There's no one I really want to go for in this price bracket in 188k. Like Zerg, sure, if you want to go there, you can do that. But personally, I think the obvious upgrade is just going to Youngster. And then 178k, there's nothing you can really do with that money, except you could go Fear or Isaac, I guess. But as I said, Metisport is maybe the weakest team in this event. It's pretty close, honestly, even between them and some of the higher tier opponents. And then, like, I don't know what to expect of Fear in this Fnatic team. Like, I think this Fnatic team should do pretty well. I'm not happy about this Borup play. Like, I think Crims should have definitely been given this event. I'm actually not sure. Is he like actually benched, or is he just sitting out the major thing, or I don't know what's actually happening there. I just saw on news that Europe would play this, but it would be interesting to know what the reason behind it is. But yeah, I think that this is just the lineup I like the most, and we're gonna go with that PR instead of rest because we have the 2k and he has been looking very sharp. And then Slend and Glaive. So roles and boosters. I'm assuming so Slend main op, not that great. 3147. It's actually maybe a bit of a role nightmare potentially. So Young Star maybe could be someone to start out with. 4744. 4438. So okay. Glaive probably likes eco-friendly a lot, yes. And I don't want to go noob on him just in case. So we probably go eco-friendly here. And that probably means we don't go eco-friendly here and we probably go support or headshots. Looks like it's going to be headshots on Youngstar. And he's a crisp aimer, so that makes sense. PR just can probably make use of one of these like pop fragger type things, so like defender, attacker, but apparently multi-fragger is the best one. And I think like going by the numbers is usually okay. When it comes to roles, just pick the one with the biggest number, but you can also use a bit of personal thinking. Like PR has been playing a lot against better opponents, so his rating is gonna be I would say that his rating should be slightly higher than this for this event, and also his multi-fragging output should also be slightly better for this event because of that. Sunpayu's 2467 is still pretty good opening numbers. So let's go for that. And then Slend wasn't that great with the op in terms of stats. And probably support on Slend. Okay. That's interesting that like, yes, I guess it's a lot of survival and a lot of getting traded, but like a team with good principles is gonna have usually a pretty high traded percentage. And then I'm assuming there's not that many assists because he's opening, and then a decent amount of survival. KASD probably on Slend early. That seems okay. Just throw good boosters on good players. Top of scorecard versus an Amiga, sure. Kobe, I'll throw Kobe and Glaive here. Flash assist, Slend is better at that. That's not surprising. Harry Vision is a pretty tight matchup already. I guess we can do this, Avenger, and then Sun Payus. Clutch. Clutch seems pretty good. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with this lineup. You know, at this stage, I'm just gonna be building the team that I want to build. Like, I could have been, to be honest, like, I could have gone for a body lineup because, like, I'm Finnish. I want to support my Finnish countrymen. And the way the fantasy season is going is just abhorrent. Like, we are nowhere near the top of the leaderboards. There's still a chance to make a comeback, but I don't think the chances of that are very high. And just based off the last event, I would say getting a top 99%, like bottom 1% is pretty horrible. So it's gonna happen, but what can you say? Sometimes that's just what happens. And this was a very random playoff and a very close playoffs and hard to predict. But yeah, going with this lineup for this stage of the European Major Qualifier. If you enjoy this kind of content, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.